65. For Saturday, sunshine, highs 83. Saturday night, partly cloudy, 61. Sunshine for Sunday, highs near 83. For KTUI, my name is Christopher Lee Cunningham.
KTUI time is 10:05, and the current temperature is 84 degrees. I'm Sam Scott.
Hey, good morning and welcome back. Here we are live at the White Mule Winery on the high plains of Gasconade County. 87 hazy degrees here at airtime at the White Mule, and a beautiful day it will be. I think, in fact, that we're headed for a little cooler weather. We hope. We've had probably an inch and a half. Of course, we didn't get to visit with you last week, so it's been 2 weeks since we talked with you when we was at the Gasconade County Fair, and we had a great time there and enjoyed the fair and the sale, and we're going to talk about that just a little bit here on KTUI 1560 AM, 94.1 FM, or possibly you're watching us on Facebook Live. If so, great to have you aboard, and we got a great hour planned for you here. We're just going to reminisce and talk about what's going on in Gasconade and Franklin County. A good friend of mine who we enjoyed breaking bread together last night, Rick Opp. Great to have you. Rick is an insurance agent at Washington, and he owns his own business and got numerous employees and have been doing that for a few years.
Yeah, just a few.
And what company? I mean,
I own Weeman and Poos Insurance Agency. It's two guys started it back in the early 1950s, and I've been there since 1981.
So you have a multitude of companies that you do business with.
Correct.
And so you can give the customer, a couple of choices when they come in to do whatever, and that, you've been there a long time, but that's, people like the choices, don't they?
Oh, well, yeah, and that's a good thing about being an independent agent. We can offer different companies, and trust me, if one company goes too high on prices, we hear about it and we look for another company that'll consider it at a better deal. So that's our job. We make people, we've helped people throughout the years. We've had several cases where we've had total fire losses and things like that we have to jump in and be a part of. But you know what, Charlie, that's what I like doing.
Well, helping people. You're a people person, and you have been always, and will continue to be. And you've very successful at what you did, but you've also give back to the community an awful lot. That's where we first met. When you were working, and did a lot of work for the fair, and basically was on the board and booked a lot of entertainment for them. Correct?
Yes.
I mean, that was your job, kind of.
Yes, I did that. I did the main stage entertainment for the Washington Town and Country Fair for 28 years.
Wow. You got to meet a lot of good people, didn't you? Interesting.
I got to meet a lot of good people, and I got to meet a lot of, let's just say, people that had a different attitude than we do.
Entertainers, are interesting folk. I mean, some... And we talked last night. We seen Garth Brooks last, a week. We went to Kansas City. Karen and I went and enjoyed him, enjoy his personality, enjoy his wholeness and his realness and his ability to communicate effectively with a mass of people.
Right.
He checked his ego, I think. You know what I'm saying? On the stage when he comes there and puts on a great show, but they're not all like that, are they?
No, they're not. Several of them have gone beyond the earthly bound, so to speak, and they think they're, but that's very few. Very few. Most of the people that we've had at the fair over the years are excellent people. And I can tell you some stories, and if you want to get into that, we can do that. But most of the people that we deal with are very good. We have to deal with the tour managers
Well, and that's the issue that I was just going to throw out there. Most entertainers are who they are. But a lot of times the people that surround them are the ones that are a challenge sometimes to deal with.
Correct. One of my favorite stories to tell is when we had Charlie Daniels for the first time. And it was back in 1987, I believe it was. And we were down in where the tractor pull and the horse, the rodeo is now. That's where the stage was. And back in those days, we had to pull the stage in and then take it back out again because we had all the entertainment
right there
going on in that area. And we had set up a stage and an area behind it for the buses and the trucks that unload their gear, right? So the bus pulls in, and the first guy off the bus is this big guy, and I'll never forget his name. His name was Rick Renz. Big ex-Marine guy. He gets off the bus and he looks down at me and he goes, I want to talk to the security. Who's in charge here? I want to talk to security and all these people. And I thought, and the first thing in my mind was security. What do you mean? And I said, okay, I'll get the chief of police down here. So I got a hold of the chief of police. He came down, and this guy paraded around all day. Now, on the other side of the coin, Charlie Daniels, and I hate to say it, he's gone now, but
yes,
he was a country gentleman. And he would stop and talk to anybody. I mean, you'd walk up to him, how you doing? And then he would start telling you a story, right? So the whole day went on, and we dealt with Rick Renz and got that through. And then 20 years later, we had Charlie back about 7 or 8 years ago now. And I walked up to him and I shook his hand and I said, Charlie, how you doing? I know you don't remember me, but I do remember your tour, your entourage. He looked at me and he goes, you remember Rick Renz? And I said, I do. And he goes, well, I fired that SOB 6 weeks after your fair. He was a pain in the ass. Good story. Good story.
You know, that is absolutely awesome, and that, and that's how it is. I mean, my little connection with fame was Trish Yearwood when she was at the Gasconade County Fair.
Sure.
And I got to take her around. You don't like this, do you, Grace? Well, she's a wonderful person, and you don't realize that until you got a John Deere side by side and you're going down and just kind of showing around. She said, I really want to walk through this cattle barn, and that's real. That's tangible, that's real, and, where's the restroom? And I said, well, we'll go, I don't need that. I can go right here. You don't want to. That is real people doing real things, and that sticks with you, and it connects you to those.
It does. It makes you realize that, these people searched and they got into the business because they wanted to. It's their job, just like you and I have a job every day. It's their job, and sometimes it's a harder job because they're on a bus. They travel from point A to point B. Most of them didn't even know where they are. They had to ask us, okay, so where we are today.
Right.
And, but for the most part, most of the entertainers were very good, decent people.
Yeah, they are, and, we are lucky to live where we are and have fairs, that Karen and I talked about it on the way when we was going to Kansas City. We don't go to a lot of concerts at all, other than the fair. But who have we not seen at Town and Country Fair and Gasconade County Fair over the last 40, 50 years? We've seen them all. We have really seen all of the above, and enjoy those particular kind of settings.
Charlie, I think that's one of the things that I've enjoyed about doing what I did for the fair, it got me out of living in a small town, which I love. I wouldn't go anywhere else, but it took me to Las Vegas, Nashville, and other places that I had to go to book these entertainers. And you got to go and sit down with their management people and work out routing and schedules and dollars. You got to negotiate that.
And the interesting part of that is that the budget for these fairs, it's tough. A lot of, Washington's obviously a lot bigger than Owensville, but both fairs have did a tremendous job looking down the road and picking people that were about to come into their own.
Right.
At a time when they're affordable, what I'm saying, to bring here, and you've been extremely successful at doing that, so that's good value, that's good stuff.
It is, only because in my travels, I made pretty good friends with several of the people like at Creative Artist and the William Morris Agency, Paragon, all out of Nashville. A good friend of mine now, Stan Barnett, who worked for Creative Artist, he's the reason that we had a lot of these country acts at our Town and Country Fair, because he knew we would take care of these people, they would be treated properly, and that we had a good operation. And so he made an effort to get those acts at our, and that's not to say that Barry Jeffries at the William Morris Agency did the same thing.
Sure.
And that's what you do. You make these contacts and you let these people know that, hey, we can get the job done, you get them here.
A little backstage stuff, that makes our fairs what they are. The big picture is that the traditions and the values that our communities share. And we've had a fair for 70 years at Owensville. I think it's 71st fair. Those traditions and values continue to shine a light on our youth, and showing what we do best, and that's, enjoying each other, supporting our youth, and just letting our hair down once in a while. That used to be it, Rick. When we grew up, we needed to get the potatoes dug before we went to the Gasconade County Fair. I don't know that we ever had them dug, but that was just all summer. But that was it. Well, there was no 2-week vacation. There was no going to the lake, whatever. It was the fair. And, it still is.
That's what you look forward to. It's, it's that time of year where you meet all your friends and the livestock comes in, and Charlie, that's something that I've always said, the entertainment at these fairs is important, but you also lose the true value of the fair, which is the livestock and the people that bring these animals in and work with them all year long. And then they have the auction and all. That's. And
we haven't lost. The community has not lost focus.
No.
Well, Owensville Fair brings in $11,000 to the youth, and I think Washington probably double that.
It did this year, yes.
800 and X thousand. Look at that. Look at the benefit to our youth. Look at how the community supports them, and tell me that that's not their focus.
Absolutely. And so it all goes hand in hand, and it's all part of the reality of a fair. But I've often said, the entertainment is taken away from the main reason for the fair, which is the livestock and the gathering of people and that kind of things. But the fair does go on, and it does cost money, and these entertainers do bring in people that wouldn't normally be there if they didn't want to go see ZZ Top or whoever, Charlie Daniels and all these people that
no question about it. Well, I want to get a little bit deeper, because you are a mover in Washington, and Washington on the riverfront. Washington is a great community, and they have held close to their traditional values, and they are reinvesting in Washington. Big time. Every time I go down, to the riverfront, there's more remodeling going on. Huge investment. People are choosing to move back, to that area. I think you live right there on the riverfront, and there's something serene and peaceful, is there not, when you can look out your window and see that Missouri River flowing past every day?
Sure. Charlie, that's I can say it as part of my heritage. My mother's side of the family migrated from Germany in 1834, and they migrated up. They were going to go up the Ohio River, but there was a flood, so they continued up the Mississippi, and they heard about Duden Hills, which was across the river, and settled there for several years, and then moved to Washington. There were two brothers, and one became a wagon wheel maker and an undertaker, which later became the auto furniture store.
Really?
And then my great-great-grandfather started the Krakow store, a grocery store between Union and Washington.
That is still going tremendous business today.
Yeah.
And auto company is still...
No, they're not.
Okay.
No, they're not. My second cousin, Skip Otto, sold the business several years ago.
Not that long ago.
No, but he has since passed away. But right now the building is occupied by a beauty parlor, and then the upper floors are apartments. And this is a part of a little chunk of history. My son, who lives in one of those apartments, is the first descendant of the Otto family living in that building.
Wow.
Isn't that
yeah, it's a small circle, it's a small world, and you're talking a wagon wheel. My great-grandfather was a blacksmith and lived along the old iron road that run right through here, and as his two brothers that came from Germany in the 1850s and settled, here to fix the wagon wheels, the big heavy iron, that come from St. James, where they smelted it at the springs down to Herman to the river, that depicts, and Gary Lucy depicts so exquisitely on his vision on how things were at that time. So there, this river, these roads, these communities are tied together, and what our forefathers did changed the world. I mean, this iron, what I'm saying, making these wagon wheels, this is what built, the East Coast, what I'm saying, and we all played a big role in that, Isn't that interesting, a wagon wheel maker and an undertaker? Yeah. Because he knew how to make the boxes, I guess.
That's what he did. So for many years, the auto furniture business and then the funeral home were fairly close to each other on Main and Elm and 2nd Street, where the auto furniture building is now. And absolutely. And then the Otto family then sold the undertaking, the funeral business, to the Millers. And you remember Wes Miller?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, he was in the
yes.
Funeral business for many years. He bought that from the Otto family, and then when he passed away, his son took over the business, and Robbie, and then Robbie since has passed away, and now it's in another family name.
It's most people think that, and we are German, what I'm saying, we're German, our roots are German, but, our area was claimed by France, what I'm saying, when they, back in the, 1600s, late 1600s, right. The French named an awful lot of these things. Gascade, for instance, is a French name, and they were talking about, in Gascony County's history, they were talking about how it got its name. Well, where all these rivers are coming together, like the Gasconade River, the Rhine, the Burbus, the Dry Fork, all of these particular names, they said up here in Gasconade County is just such a glorious place where all of these rivers are coming in. And they were sitting in St. Louis talking about this, and they decided that sounded like a town in France because everybody's bragging on good things. So that town was Gascony. Gascony in France, and we're going to name this Gasconade because these guys are bragging how good it is. Of course, so that's why we got all these French names, you know what I'm saying, out here, and that's why the river, is here. And Gasconade County at one time covered the entire mouth of the Gasconade River all the way to Oklahoma. The whole watershed, yes.
Really?
The whole watershed of the Gasconade River was Gasconade County at one time before 1820. And that's significant because this year, 1821, we are 200 years old in the state of Missouri.
Right.
Gasconade County is also.
Oh.
We've been around, since, since we become a state. So that's a trivia. That's a tidbit. I don't do trivia, but
Do you make it up?
I remember Grandma living, she was 97, we were blessed to have her, but I did realize, from about her 90s on, that the last living person gets to write history. You get to write it as you see it, and, she did just that. But,
Sure.
that's... But you own a piece of Gasconade County too, from your.
I don't own it personally. It's not in our family anymore. But yes, I grew up working on a farm in my youth and my college days, and still do to some extent up on the Highway J by the Fredericksburg Ferry. There's about 800 acres up there that my second aunt still owns. It's in the Grimm family name. My grandfather and Bill Grimm, his father, started this in 1932. They purchased this ground up there, and my grandfather was a fisherman. He loved to fish, so he had a cabin down on the Gasconade River. And but over the years, those cabins have gotten old, and we had to burn them down and that kind of thing. But I feel blessed that the Grimm family allows my family to still use the property. I have a cabin up there that overlooks the Gasconade, and we work together well.
And right across the river, it kind of meanders back and forth there, but there was a very popular watering hole at Pershing.
Yes.
With hop.
That's correct.
And we went there numerous times. Even when I was in the feed business, I kind of learned that. But we used to go there and sharpen the saw with all the deputies that lived down there, and the Schmidts, and we would get together once or so a year and go there. And what a great community! And that's a loss because it is no longer there. But that was your relative.
No.
They just liked your name.
They somehow took my name. No, but there were a lot of hops in that area. That part of the family came from Alsace-Lorraine in France.
Really?
And right along the Rhine River from that area there. And so when you see the hop name, yes, that's where it came from. They may be relatives in Alsace-Lorraine, but here in the States, they were not.
Yeah, when you start casting this net, you really find out that probably at one time, they are all related, to some degree. They come from this same tree, but you know, we may be closer related than you are to the hops. You know, don't let.
Is this over?
I mean, Greta used to ask when she was dating, you know, but she used to ask, you know, in high school, "Hey, Dad, can I date this guy?"
Well, that's
Yeah, and of course she couldn't.
That's why I never had any dates.
I don't care if it was a Polish or Bohemian, you know, or who it was. No, I don't know. Ask Grandma.
That's very true. You got to be careful, don't you? Well, that's true, but you know, our areas continue to grow, so that's a benefit that our kids seem to find people outside the community now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, well, used to it was. You go right down Second Creek here, and just how it is, you know, you found a mate a day away on the horse. You know what I'm saying? Or walk down the creek or whatever, and you know, that's just kind of how it happened. Because, and we ran to Wild Washington a fair amount, you know, when I was a kid. But
Yeah, sure.
you know, it's all good. But you know, we're blessed and fortunate to be part of our history here, and one of your kids are coming back, you know what I'm saying, and have been in New York City and lived an awesome life, but has chosen to come back, you know, and enjoy the fruits of our family's
Right.
generations of labor.
Right, absolutely. And we need to be proud of that because, you know, so many people don't have the roots. They're transient because of work-related issues or whatever, military. And Charlie, I have a cousin that, on my dad's side, his sister had two sons, and her husband was in the Navy during World War II. These two guys they've lived everywhere. They've lived in Hawaii and different places, Washington D.C., Florida. Even though they were never born in Missouri, they still have roots. They still feel they have roots in Missouri. One now lives in San Jose, California, and the other one in Westchester, Pennsylvania. So
Wow.
but my cousin's coming back here in 2 weeks just to visit and return to Jeff City where his parents both lived.
Karen's brother does a lot of picture shooting, and he had a viewing of Jeff City recently that, you know, pictures he had, you know, taken and shot. And start thinking on the way up there, you know, Second Creek, this is the Second Creek watershed, you know what I'm saying, that runs into here, runs into the Gasconade River, and, you know, so on. But if you just take this Second Creek and, you know, here's where the breaks are, this is where it starts. The Second Creek starts this way off of this roof, and the Burbus, you know, starts, you know, over that way. So, you know, this is a high part of the country, but the homes along Second Creek, if you go through Bay and you drive through there, all of the stone homes that are there is incredible. You know, I mean, it depicts what kind of work ethic and wealth, you know, that those people had. So, you know, I told Mike, I said, we need to get you into these homes and you need to take some pictures, you know what I'm saying, of that, because there's generational of people taking care of these homes and how far it goes back. Who wouldn't love to have a framing, you know what I'm saying, of great, my uncle's house is one of those, you know what I'm saying, and, you know, it just, they're there, they're solid, they're part of our history, and it's undocumented.
Well, that's true. As a matter of fact, the house up on the Grimm farm that I spoke of just prior, it's stone. In some places 2 foot thick. And as a matter of fact, where I go deer hunting, I'm on where they quarried the stone.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. So it's all part of our history, it's here.
And, they would build these homes and, they were, some were 10-year projects. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it would take literally years and years to cut these and build these stone by stone. And, you can look at these houses, a lot of them, and know that they were did in sections, because something might have happened, or there was a war, the Civil War, something we couldn't do, whatever, and then they come back and finish the project. Unbelievable.
They had to deal with choices back then that we couldn't imagine, but it's pretty neat to look at them. And when you brought up Washington and our downtown, I think that's something that I'm most proud of because of my ancestry and settling there. And so I've gotten pretty heavily involved in our downtown and Downtown Washington Incorporated. I am the president of the Historic Washington Foundation. And I
didn't know that.
I believe in keeping these old buildings instead of tearing them down for a parking lot. And there's many people in our community that feel the same way. And I'm glad because, we get the job done. But a good example of that is the Farmers Market building on Main Street. Several years ago, I happened to be in...
Where we have the wine.
Yeah, where we have the wine
fest.
Right, and our farmers market on Saturdays, and food stock is coming up on the end of this month, on the 28th in there. And this is a good story because, you got to fight for these things. And the mayor at the time was going to have the building taken down and put a parking lot there. And the Washington Area Chamber of Commerce, downtown Washington, and we all got focused on this, and we put up a battle and said, no, you're not. And the Historic Washington Foundation was formed to own that building once we got everything done. And we went on a fundraising adventure and raised the funds. We still owe just a little bit on the note, but we're paying that off as the building's been used, and we'll get there.
And look what that anchor has did.
Absolutely.
Look at the millions and millions. I mean, would in fact all the homes and the condos be built there without that historic presence there, without where we ate last night and the old the old building, which was the electrical, we think, building or whatever, but. That's what people love. That's what people enjoy. That's the whole value that we give them, and
it's our history. And if you take the building down, that's the only thing that you can see that's a part of our history. The rest of it's in storytelling or at a museum, and you go look at a book. But when you look at those brick buildings, they were built how many years ago? And you want to tear them down and make a parking lot? No, I don't think so.
No, I totally agree. And other events that are there. You have the Farm to Table event coming up here, sold out every year. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Far, but an opportunity to truly have. And we worked on a project last night. When we went. To figure out we're going to do some filet mignon, on a skewer, do the shish kebab thing as part of the menu there. But we found last night what we think at the Alavino's, a marinade that's going to be really excellent. But it's all of this sharing, and it's all of this knowledge that people search to find the roots of where the food comes from, and our forefathers did a hell of a job with that, didn't they?
Absolutely.
I mean, they knew how to eat and cook and have a good time.
They had a hard time, but you know what, Charlie? They survived. And you look at a day like this where it's a heat index of 108, back then, they didn't have air conditioning. They didn't, they got through it.
They were out farming with white mules, and the corn was popping.
And I'm sure
and the mules thought it was snow.
and I'm sure their toes were too. I mean, as hot as it geez.
Oh no! What a wonderful way to, reminisce about how good we have it, and the shoulders of that we stand on.
True.
That it's just awesome. It's awe-inspiring to me, because without that, would we have did what we did? No.
Exactly.
No, we wouldn't be where we were, without the history and, the values that we grew up with.
Right.
It's quite a legacy that.
And again, we're fortunate that we get to share it with new people coming into the community. You want to see new people come in, because we're not going to be here forever. So somebody's got to carry on. Who's going to fill their shoes?
And Washington has been such a great ambassador, to our regional area. The jobs that they've created, the business, the industry, the visionary. But you know what really impresses me, because I've been fortunate to watch, when I was in Jeff City, watch their chamber, know Owensville, know these smaller communities, know all, of central Missouri. I don't know that anybody does it any better from a big picture standpoint than Washington seems to be able to visualize and put their finger on. And the key is everybody follows that lead, or does appear from the outside. Am I wrong?
Well,
I mean,
I appreciate you saying that, and yeah, to some extent, I guess.
You think there was going? Are there fights occasionally? No, I know there is.
But you got to take a look at towns like Herman. I mean, these people are.
They're unbelievable in what they do.
And New Haven. They
are totally unbelievable, and I am not taking anything away from that. The point I'm trying to make is, when you bring this much, I mean, Herman, there's always, there's always growth. There's nobody does a better job, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sharing their heritage, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And no matter whatever happens, that solid base of people that they have built over the years is going to be there. Those 150 bed and breakfast, you know what I'm saying,
right,
that sit down and share these kind of stories with new people, that's not leaving.
No.
That's going to only get better and better. So I just, and the Zobrist and everybody in New Haven, they got, lots of great stuff, going on. There's no question, and they're all in together.
Right.
But all I guess I'm trying to say is it's not easy.
It's not. But your story about the forefathers, they did have the vision, and that's the reason that we're doing what we do today, because they had that vision. They industry, and they realized that something needed to be done in order to keep the community in motion, and I was fortunate enough to, I guess you could say I'm old enough now that I met some of these people that made those decisions, back when I was a kid. And some of the streets in our industrial parks are named after them, So those people, they did the right thing, and we're riding on their coattails now, and let's continue.
Yeah, it's all fantastic stuff. Hey, I hope you're enjoying our reminiscing here about our great history and what's going on with it here on KTUI 1560 AM, 94.1 FM, or possibly you're watching Facebook Live. So we're going to take a little break, and Grace is going to get us up to speed here on what else is going on in our community? We know the state fair is coming next week.
So it started yesterday.
Oh, it started. Rick is a fair guy, so he knows. It did start yesterday. Well, we're not going up till next Wednesday, so that'll be the
So it
start.
won't start till you get there.
So yeah, I mean, it ain't the fair until we show up, but well, it ain't my fair, So, but there is other things going on in our neck of the woods, and what are they, Grace?
I got a couple things here. They're having a giveaway Saturday, August 21st from 9 a.m. to 1 at the Bland Christian Church. It's across from the city park there. Everything is free. They'll have household items and gently used clothing for all ages.
A giveaway. That's as cheap as it gets, isn't it?
Yes, it is. At the
And
Bland
where's
Christian-
that at the
Bland
church?
Christian Church, right across from the park there.
Yeah. Well, that's a timely thing, right before school's starting, and I'm sure there is going to be a lot of stuff there, and what a good idea.
It is a good idea. This Friday night at the White Mule, we will be serving steak, lasagna, shrimp, and beef kebabs from 5 until 8:30. Saturday, we will have our steaks and then pizza, wings, and hamburgers from 5 until 8:30. And then Sunday is all-you-can-eat pan-fried chicken and roast beef from 11 until 3:30.
So, a couple of things there out of the Gasconade County Republican paper on what's coming our way. The picnic season is kind of over. There'll be another, I think, Bem Church will have Labor Day. We'll have another picnic, but those are other great social things to get and enjoy as the church picnics and the homemade ice cream.
Absolutely. Ice cream social. I saw the sign on the way up.
It's all great stuff. We are talking with Rick Hops, an insurance. I'm going to call it insurance executive because I like that, because and one of the movers and shakers if not in Washington, and just talking about what makes us unique, what makes us, we think, great, in regard to our area, but and Washington has led the way in a lot of different aspects, and there is something going on across the river. What I'm saying, that we probably need to talk about. Karen and I went to a couple wineries over there, and Mr. Hoffman and company are investing a lot of capital across the river there, which will one way or the other have a bearing, what I'm saying, on Washington. There's no question about it. And there's some changes, that are being made here. I think he's bought, 4 wineries right now?
I think so, yes.
And, one of the things that, he has purchased also is the Emmaus home.
Correct.
Which was our affiliation with our UCC church that,
Correct.
We had, and that's a great piece of history over there. And I don't know exactly what his intentions are, but, you hear a lot of different things, but he's changing things pretty quickly, pretty radically, and those things are never easy, what I'm saying, to some degree, but he is a Washington, his heart and soul is in Washington. I mean, that's where he grew up, and his wife also, correct?
Correct.
So, he's, you hear him make another Napa Valley where you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's only one of them. You gotta do something. I mean, you can do a lot of things there, but you can't recreate Napa Valley. But you can put your spin on, what I'm saying, and do what your vision is. But interesting time there.
It is, Charlie, and the folks in Augusta, I've talked to several of them. Some of them welcome, some of them not so much. They're hesitant, but, I guess you could say that's the old German way,
Change.
Yeah, of course, we live here in Missouri. Show me, And so we'll see.
Exactly. And you know, when Herman was laid out by the Philadelphia Society, you know, to become, you know, wine and grape, that has not been a seamless struggle along the way. I mean, the wars and the prohibition that they went through,
Right.
our forefathers lost everything, you know,
Right.
and that change brought about huge ramification way before the Depression, you know what I'm saying, ever set in the 30s. Gasconade County and our ancestry went through their Depression 10 years before that with Prohibition.
Right, right.
And
Then the Depression hit,
then they had another, you know what I'm saying?
which our parents lived through.
Precisely. And give us part of the, you know, the values that we hold on to and the conservatism, you know what I'm saying?
Really, I can still remember my mother taking bread wrappers and saving them to wrap food in because, you know,
May not be none.
that's right.
May not be none. So, I mean, the one given in life is that there is change, you know. The other given is that, you know, adaptation, you know what I'm saying, to those changes. But it will all turn out, you know what I'm saying, as it's supposed to turn out. And it'll be interesting as time goes on to see how many of these ideas, you know what I'm saying, will come to fruition. And but it's a popular area. You know, you're drawing in the Midwest, Rick. I mean, if you draw a circle, you know, around the population within a day's drive, you know, of Washington and of our area, it's pretty immense how many people can get there within a day.
Definitely. And you had mentioned that, you know, Doris and I are fortunate to live on Front Street, and we overlook the river and the riverfront park and all that. You wouldn't believe the people, and you can tell that they're from out of town, but you wouldn't believe the license plates and the people that come to visit our communities now, which is awesome. I mean, you walk down Front Street in Washington and it's like living in a resort town because we have these great places to eat, a few places to maybe stop and get a beer or two.
Really? Or wine? Or both?
Or both. And, you know, it's part of our heritage, right?
And you know what? I come Friday nights here, you know what I'm saying, and mingle and enjoy a beverage occasionally, but talk to our customers.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I always take a four-wheeler or side-by-side back and forth to clean up before or whatever. Last 2 weeks ago, pulled in the driveway and come up, 5 different state license plates sitting in a parking lot.
Yeah.
5 different ones on, you know, and I'm thinking, this is amazing.
It is.
This is absolutely amazing that, you know, our area, you know, is so fortunate. So we're doing something right.
Well, and you are, because you're doing the agritourism thing. And Charlie, look at what you've done in this area, you know, halfway between here and there, and you're bringing them in. That's a good thing.
Well, we're benefiting from all of the above. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Washington supports us, Rick, tremendously, as does Sullivan, as does Jeff City, as does Rolla.
Sure.
You know, and we're just very blessed and fortunate to be where we are and do what we do.
But then you're good about supporting us too. I mean, like the food, like the farm to table event. You know, Charlie, that's awesome, and we couldn't thank you enough for doing that. That helps us in ways that, you know, you don't see right off, but it does.
So, we've got just a few minutes left. In the next 5 years, vision with me. What projects you're working on? You know what I'm saying, at Washington. What do you see coming our way?
One of the issues that the city is working on is the old waterworks building that's down on the riverfront. They're not exactly sure what should be in there. You know, for a while it was an antique shop. And the issue with it is that when the waters do come up, the basement is below,
Water level table.
you know, and so there's some issues with that. There are some people that are looking at it to open up a more of a tourist gift, I don't want to say gift shop, but you know, places where people can come get something to eat and during the day, that kind of thing. That's a possibility. Andy Understall, who is doing all of the construction work on Main Street and Front Street, he's just fantastic. I don't know where he gets his energy, but thanks to Andy, he has purchased the old Pekka building where the Western Auto store used to be.
We went by.
Redo that. He's going to put residential. As a matter of fact, Andy is a part of our historic Washington board. He's a part of downtown Washington, a big part. So he plays a major key in the advancement of our downtown, only because he can get the job done.
He can get the job done, and he had the passion for it, but saving this history is not a cheap thing, because I'll guarantee you that bulldozer is a lot cheaper, you know what I'm saying, than resurrecting and holding and redoing everything inside and saving the walls. It's an expensive process.
Well, you were there last night. You saw that whole half of that building stall, you know. But he had no choice.
No, but he's saving the
Saving the building.
Yeah.
It's in his heart. He knows he has to do it, and he has the willpower, and he has the people to do it. So just get out of his way.
You know, Rick, I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your wife, and congratulations on your success in Washington and you finding a lovely bride that is absolutely, you know, awesome. And we have a great time when we're together, and we will share more.
Absolutely. Charlie, thanks for suggesting this.
Well, it was rather late last night. Thank you, you know, for coming up this morning, because I do appreciate it, and I missed last week, but I knew we'd always have something to talk about. Believe that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's for sure.
Rick Hops, thank you for being here. Gracie, next week.
We'll be here. I'll be here. I know you will be.
He said he's going to the fair.
We're going to the fair Wednesday, but we'll be back Thursday. Hey, good for you to be along, and we'll give you an update next week on what's happening at the State Fair, and we'll have a guest.
Yes, we will.
Great to be with you today, and God bless you. We'll see you next Thursday.
A generation of respect,
of acceptance, of diversity,
a generation that leads together,
a generation that learns together, a generation that plays together.
This is our generation.
Special Olympics athletes are leading a revolution of inclusion,
proving we are better together.
If inclusion is your thing, let us know.
Sign the Inclusion Pledge at jointherevolution.org.
If COVID-19 has caused you stress and anxiety, you aren't alone. In fact, stress and anxiety are common reactions after a disaster. The Show Me Hope Crisis Counseling Program offers free and confidential support. Our disaster distress helpline provides immediate crisis counseling for anyone experiencing emotional distress related to any disaster. Call 1-800-985-5990 or visit moshowmehope.org. Brought to you by the Missouri Department of Mental Health.
Hey travelers, do you want to save money on your next flight? Then pick up the phone and call. That's right, call, because the best prices are not online. They're with SmartFares. See, SmartFares has special deals with the airlines. When they have unsold seats, they use SmartFares to fill them. So you get airline tickets at ridiculously low prices. Our prices are too low to publish online. With the extra money you'll save, you can book another trip or treat yourself to dinner or shopping. So stop searching all of those travel sites to find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on